Joining us now, she's the head coach at UCF, of course, since taking over in 2019. Coach Bear, Cindy Ball-Malone joining us, former All-American at Pacific, joining us here. Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you, Elo?
Doing good. It's another season's around here. What's it been like for this group here with the fall, and obviously now as you get closer to the start of the season here, a young group has experience, but still young. So what has it been like?
It's definitely been different than the last couple of years. Like you said, we're young. We have, a lot of new faces, and some of our experience and kind of familiarity graduated, and moved on to their next journey in life. And so, I wouldn't say that that brings the level of our talent or our play on the field down. It's just different, and so it's getting to know everybody, not only on the field, but our staff is brand new as well. So it's been fun learning each other and kind of learning, our culture and our way the past 5 6 months. So yeah, it's been different, but it's been fun and exciting and frustrating and all of the above.
Yeah, of course. One of the people you obviously moved on, or but didn't move on in a way, was Alea White, who said rewrote the record books at UCF. She'll be appearing a lot on the UCF media guides in the record books. But she's on your staff. She's a grad assistant. Just talk about that adjustment, having her now on the staff, and what she will bring to the table in that role.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we relied on her quite a bit, and so that's one of we talk about that elephant in the room for sure, amongst our staff and amongst our pitching staff. But Lily's done a great job of making it about the team and the program, and she has such pride in UCF softball, and she wants to see it move on and continue to keep going, because there's times where you see certain pitchers graduate and the program takes a little bit to get back to it. And so she's doing her part in helping those youngsters and preparing them for what they need. And it's just fun to see her want this program to go in the direction that it's going and not just be the Lily White show, if that makes sense. And that's what makes her so incredible. But it's also been fun to be on the other side with her, getting to know her. And um, she's been at like staff dinners and things like that. And so it's just fun to see how competitive she is and how much she knows about the game, that she's not just a pitcher by any means. So it's fun to learn from her and hear what she has to say and her input, and her will and want to continue to be better and be better than last year.
How much of her do you see yourself? Like, it's kind of eerie. You both have similar paths. Reset the record books at Pacific, then you join Coach Cozy's staff right afterwards. She's kind of doing the same thing, not suggesting that she's going to follow the coaching career. Who knows? She's got a lot of options what she wants to do. The most important thing is she's getting another degree, a graduate degree. But I feel like there's a lot of parallels and similarities between the two of you as you've gotten to know each other.
There definitely are. She's got it way more together than I did at that age. I will tell you that for sure. But I do see a lot of the things that she says, and just her focus. It reminds me a lot of back when I was that age, which it's been some time now. But like I said, she definitely has her head. She's got her head in the right direction, and she knows what she wants. And I mean, you're right. She could coach. She could do whatever she wants to do, and she's had offers already and wanted to stick this out. And so it's exciting just to see where she's going to continue to go with her career, and how she's going to continue to grow the game.
How important is it to have an extra pair of eyes like her with her credentials and experience on a bullpen with a G either with a G to see some things that maybe she doesn't see, especially with the young pitchers behind her?
Right. I think the most important thing is that she's still in that player's mindset, because I'm very far removed from that. For me, it's like, okay, this is the task. This is what we need to do. Here's the plan. Do it. It's not hard. And the emotional attachment, and even like some of the different adjustments that you need to make. Well, I don't think about those things because I haven't been there in so long. And so Lily's really brought that perspective into our program. And then even brought up things like we're doing our opening day dinner, and she said, "Oh yeah, remember this?" And it was things that from their side they really enjoyed. And so it's been interesting to bring that perspective, and we respect it so much because it's about moving the program in the right direction and continuing to move on, but also understanding where the athletes are coming from. And so, I mean, just when she talks to the younger ones of, this part of warming up, like, don't be in here during the game throwing too many pitches. I did that before. And I mean, I can't remember when I warmed up. I don't remember any of that at this point. So just having that experience and being able to share it, and they look up to her so much because, like you said, her name is written all over the record book. Her face. I mean, I imagine that we'll have another Hall of Famer pretty soon here. So for her, again, to put all of that back into the program, it's pretty special. And she also gets to be the live arm to the hitter. So we all appreciate Alea White being around.
Oh wow, the live arm still there. We might have to see that like at a ceremonial first pitch at some point here. We got to see that at some point. Now, obviously, you bring back Gianna Mancha, who I think a lot of Knight fans got to know really well last year with the wins against Arizona. Her great performance in the conference tournament against South Florida in relief. Was a national pitcher of the week, was all conference performer. And you know her as well as anybody. You two go way back. How old were you when, how old since you two go way back, and having that comfort level of her who has pitched in all these big games?
Yeah, so I started recruiting Gianna, I think like 3 or 4 schools ago. So she may have been in 7th grade when I first, 6th or 7th grade when I first saw her. And she was playing up in 16 and under. And it was her and Grace Green were the shortstop pitcher duo. So they would just switch off, right? And so I thought, well, shoot, if I get one of those, we're rolling, we're pretty good. And so I've been recruiting, or I've had a relationship with her since, like, she was in 7th grade, and being a 5th-year senior now, there's been some time, and her and I've gone through um, a ton of success and even failures and struggles, and me moving on to another school. And you know it it is a business, and we have to take care of ourselves and our families, and when you get so close to your athletes, they become your family. And so um that was a tough one. Gigi's always kind of been there in my life for the last, what, 10 years of coaching. And so the thing that I really like about where we've gone and where we've come now is just our communication. Gianna is very driven. She's a leader in all that she does. She stayed all summer, and I don't think it's a surprise that 10 to 12 of our athletes stayed all summer as well. And it's not that she would tell them you had to or anything of that nature, but it's just, well, if Gianna's going to be here, then we have to be here too. And so she's really brought that presence, and she knows she's got to take a role on Alea White and Gianna, where they pushed each other every day. And they were both so grateful. Like, hearing them talk about each other is pretty special. And I said that before, I was concerned. You have Alea White, and then we bring Gianna Mancha, and I'm thinking, how's this going to work? They both are unicorns in their own environments. And it just so happened that they formed to one unicorn, but two different types of pitchers. And so it's been pretty special to see how Gianna has also kind of followed along and really focusing on the program and where she wants to go as an individual as well as the team. And like I said, our communication has come such a long way. Um, I do feel that we're pretty open, and she'll show me when she's frustrated and tell me about it. And we have high expectations for each other, and so it's been awesome. And she's one of those that said, Coach Bear, I want you in the bullpen. And so that's why we kind of made the transition of she knew what she needed to get to the next level and move this program and to super regionals and further. And so I really respect what she's done and where she's gone, with all of the information and the people around her and where she's taking us.
And again, the credential speaks for itself. Helped you win a Mountain West championship. Pitched in the regionals in 18, regional in 19, regional final at Gainesville. Pitched in the obviously led to the tournament last year. That's not an accident, right? That when she's involved, postseason comes with her, and that's valuable to have on this staff. And I think she won't be fazed by anything, I would imagine.
No, I totally agree with you, Elo. And I'll also say she's just done a good job of making the rest of the staff know that they are definitely needed and wanted, and it makes all of us better. And so the addition of Kama Woodall, along with our freshman Caitlin Felton, and just seeing how Angelina DeVoe and Grace Jewell have just thrived this past fall. I mean, we have a staff, and it's a dynamic staff that we have very different looks and speeds. And so I'm really excited to, work through that. It's going to be a challenge to understand who goes with who and who goes when. And I'm excited for that, especially with our first couple of weeks. They're going to get tested.
You mentioned Woodall. She comes over from ECU. We're familiar with her. What does she bring to the table from that standpoint? And then you mentioned Felton, very highly decorated recruit player, one of your top, obviously, players from the class there. What does she bring to the table? I know that's a popular question I've gotten from fans. They're always fascinated with the new face as far as pitching. People always want to know about pitchers at UCF. So what can you tell us about those two?
Yeah, well, Kama is somebody, I mean, our conference has seen a lot of her. And she is such a competitor, driven, but one of the most intelligent human beings that I've been around. I mean, she's going to move on to go to law school. We play this is like completely off topic and not softball oriented, but in the bullpen, we play like word association. And so we try to like stump the other pitcher of like, they say whatever comes to their mind when we say a word. And typically we keep going until somebody can't think of something. Not Kama. We would be there all day through the night, through the next week. I mean, she's just an incredibly intelligent human being. And she can throw a bit. So what I like about Kama is she really put her team on her back last year. And she was feisty, she was competitive. And I remember talking to her through the recruiting process. And I said, yeah, I remember you looking back at me when, I was just trying to get in your head. And she goes, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, coach. And I said, don't be sorry. That's why I'm on the phone with you. Like, I like that. I like the competitive spirit that you have. I like your will to win. And she's brought that, and the team respects her. I know her and G compliment each other a ton. So that's really exciting. Caitlin is, she's going to be fun to watch over her 4 years here in her career. Like you said, she's had a very successful travel ball career. She's dynamic, and she's improved on some of the other pitches that maybe she didn't use as much throughout the fall. So I'm excited to see, what she does and how she responds to our schedule this year, because it's going to be tough. We're going to be able to throw a great game, and shoot, you got Georgia coming in, right? Like, you could throw a great game and give up 1 or 2 home runs, and that's a really good game against Georgia. And so we've just really talked about what is success against some of these high level teams. And so I'm excited to see where Caitlin goes with that. And, the Rapsodo and the Rev Fire and all these metrics just say that Caitlin's top dog. And so now all we've been saying is, all right, all these things say that you're top dog. How's the mental game? And she just smiles and laughs, and she says, bring it on, Coach Bear. So, like I said, they're great athletes. They're great in the circle, and they're very fun to be around.
I saw in the fall a lot of growth from Grace, Jewel, and Angelina compared to last year, where they were still figuring things out, probably figuring out life at school, let alone softball. Do you sense that too, that growth and maturity there that kind of will help them take that next step?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think they didn't have a choice too. I mean, when they said that they wanted, me in the bullpen, I said, watch out, careful what you ask for. Cause, there's going to be some days that you're going to leave here not happy um, and frustrated and Grace is one of those that I push her hard. I mean, I'm on her the whole time. I'm like Harry the Heckler in her bullpens. And she comes back to me and she said, thanks, Coach Bear, I got better today. And you can see she's like, just shut up, let me throw, but she'll never say it. um, but yes, just their velocity, their command, um, really coming into the type of pitcher they are. I believe last year we were throwing the wrong pitch with Grace, and so we've really honed in on the right pitch for her. And maybe that's right now. I don't know, but it seems that she's way more comfortable. She's way more bought in on it. And I'm seeing a huge difference too. So
You've mentioned a couple times you're kind of back in the bullpen. For those that may not be aware, because when you got here, you were presented as more of an offensive coach, and rightfully so. You had success offensively at Boise State, ran the offense here, turned the offense around here at UCF. But I think if people have learned, and certainly I've learned, at the core, I feel you're a pitcher. At the heart and soul, you're still a pitcher. That's where you made your name. You're the greatest pitcher, great at Pacific. You're a two-way player. You've been a pitching coach, Washington, pitching coach with the U.S. national team, junior national team that won the gold. At the heart and soul, you're a pitcher. How much does that, was something that really you just thrive on, being that pitcher and teaching that bullpen? There's something about that, right? You can't just let that go.
yeah, no, absolutely. And that was the whole, getting into after regionals this past year. Our team last year did great. I mean, they accomplished so many goals. You can't say that a 41 win season, is, is anything but awesome. But I'll still go to say we underperformed for the talent that team had. We underperformed, and I think we were ended where we were supposed to because we hadn't had the experience there. You have to be there and understand it and know what it's going through. And some of the experiences of being there has really pushed them through their fall workouts. But if we are at our best here at UCF, I'm not the infield coach and the hitting coach. I'm the pitching coach, just like you said. If we're at our best, that's where I will be, and then that means that everything else is just that much better. And I tell you, we joke about it. The staff that we have is an incredible staff. But the infield and we get along a lot now, because I used to come in and say, hey, ground ball's an out. So if it's a ground ball, you better make it play. Like, I'm a pitcher, let's go. Now I don't have to be that person. And, I've got Justine Molina coming into my office every day and saying, hey, coach, how are you? And it's really helped, all around. I don't have to be that the barking bear behind them, telling them, what's up and what's going on. So yes, I do believe that we get better with me being in the bullpen and other people that are highly talented in the other areas with Whitney Jones and Tyler Heil, and then Kaya Gibson, our volunteer coach. It all places are covered, and I'm able to manage our program instead of having to do a lot of the development.
You mentioned Whitney Jones. She comes in the staff. You coached her when she was a player in Washington when you were on Heather Tarr's staff. She's been on Heather Tarr's staff for a while. Comes over to work with you. Talk about how that meant being reunited with her, and obviously Gibson also as well, Washington Husky as well.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, Whitney Jones was one of the most prepared athletes that I've ever seen in the weight room and conditioning as a freshman. I mean, when she came in, I remember going up to Coach Tarr and saying, she's a freshman, right? Like, why is she beating some of these sophomores and juniors? And she's like, that's why she's here. But she's also the most competitive person too. And so you put those two together and they're pretty lethal. But I look to Whit a lot, and I'm reading this book, and it says that you're supposed to be the dumbest person on the staff. If you're the head coach, hire some really good people. And I will never call myself done. I'm probably too, I have too big of an ego to say that. But um, Whitney Jones definitely challenges me in a way of I got to get my stuff together to be on board and be on the same level. And you're going to see that. Teams are going to see that when they walk up, how we get ready, how we take possession of the field. And she has impacted that immediately. And I mean, when you see her, she's a strength coach. She's a certified strength coach that became a softball coach again. Um, and so when you see her, I mean, the girls are like, well, I'm going to listen to her. Of course, look at her. And so it's just been awesome. And her desire for this, like just her buy-in to me, I mean, you can't get that. Like the three people coming in, just their support for me and this program. But it allows me to do what I need to do. You know, I missed the first day of January workouts to be at the USA trials. And it's I don't know that I've ever done that before, but I trust this group. And that doesn't say anything about any other groups that I've had with me, but this group works well together. You know, there's no page unturned. And I know Whitney, you know, kind of took the reins and ran with that when she needed to for us. So like I said, she challenges me. I cannot turn my back, or else she's going to be about 10 feet ahead of me. And then that's going to continue to keep going. So it's been awesome. It's been great. And she's definitely making me be the best leader of this program.
You mentioned you went to the U.S. trials that took place in January. One of the players there was Jada Cody, who returns, obviously, part of a good group in the infield there. Obviously, she plays third and catch. Shannon Doherty's back. Justine Molina's back. We'll talk about the rest of the infield in a moment. But talk about Jada and what that meant for her to get that tryout, get invited through that tryout, and be among the 45 players to participate to try to make the U.S. national team. A heck of an achievement for her.
Oh, absolutely. I had not realized that she was the first until I think you told me, and
Yeah.
you know, Ken had mentioned it. And it's amazing because we've had some really incredible athletes here. But I mean, what an honor. You know, Jada is whenever I talk to other coaches, they always ask about Cody. You know, why is Cody behind the plate? I didn't know she could catch. Why is Cody doing this? Well, truth be told, if Jada Cody got what she really wanted, she'd be in the outfield. That's her favorite position. And I just tell her, you're going to go wherever the team requires you to go. But, you know, what was awesome to see about her is she she was learning, she was watching. It was just fun to see her maybe not be the big fish for once, and how she just responded and learned and brought that stuff back. Like hearing her talk about her experience with the group, I mean, that is a win in its own. And I see her working just a little bit harder each day, knowing that she has not reached her potential. So it's been a great experience, you know, whether she's on the roster or not. I think that she put her name out there, and just being in that environment with the best softball players in our nation, I just, you know, you have to kind of pinch yourself. And she's done a really good job of responding to it and bringing it back and making us better here.
Yeah, first UCF player to get the invite to participate is wear the red, white, and blue. And you mentioned that experience, to be around those talented players from all over the place. I mean, that has to make you a better player. It has to give her more confidence, right? I would imagine she came back a much more confident person for going through that experience.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I'll say that being with the juniors in 2019, it definitely helped me, you know, have that motivation and that strive to like get where we needed to be. And, you know, just being around, I'm like, we're not far off. So I'm not going to let anyone here in this program think like, oh, we're playing a name on the jersey. Oh, no, no, no. We're just as good. And so I see that in her. And I know that really pushed my career and just my brain and my coaching brain of there are no limits. So it's exciting. It's going to be exciting to watch it continue to grow.
Of course, she returns, so does Shannon Doherty and Justine Molina. What do those two bring into the table? Obviously, Molina is such a vacuum defensively at second base. experience, another player that obviously has a ton of winning pedigree, and then Shannon Doherty, obviously an incredible talented bat.
Yeah, well, right away, I'm going to say it's leaders. They're leaders. It's leadership. You know, you would think like, oh, the home runs and the strikeouts and all of those things are so important, but um, I have never stepped out onto the field and one of our team players wear the wrong shirt since I've been here. I have never had to worry about like those silly little questions that get asked because our leadership, and that started with Kira Klarkowski and Aubrey Johnson when I first got here. But it's moved on, and Shannon has really taken over in that way. And so, the big thing now is sometimes when leaders take over those roles, it may affect their play. And I think what's really cool is we have a number of leaders that can do it, and so they're still able to focus on themselves. But yes, Shannon Doherty, she is a threat in the lineup. It doesn't matter who we face. Her and Jada back to back. No one wants to do it. I don't like calling against it when we're in scrimmages. Sometimes, we might pitch around and walk one and get one to line out, and I look at the pitcher and I'm like, hey, that's a win. Let's go. Because between those two back to back, it's not fun. And that's a really good thing for us. But you're going to see her in the infield a little bit more, and she's worked her tail off to be the leader of that infield and take over first base. And so I'm really proud of what she's done, not only as a leader, but I mean, just the amount of time and effort she puts into her game to be the best for her team. Justine Molina she is a special, special player. She's probably the loudest quiet player on our team, if that makes any sense. But and you got to see it in 2020 in that first weekend out. I mean, she has such a huge impact, and she's the littlest on our team. She's sometimes the quietest, but when she has something to say, holy cow, everyone's listening because it's important. But just watching her, I mean, this is what I think of Justine Molina. She's doing her treatment, and I remember walking by her and she had her phone out and she just like scrolling like constantly. And I thought, what is she looking at? And I go over and kind of peek over her shoulder, and she's just watching tag plays at second base over and over again, like different tag plays. And when you come out and watch us, that's why she's so good. She is such a student of the game. She doesn't have to brag about it. She just such a student of the game. And like you said, the vacuum, like we feel very comfortable throwing on that side of the plate to just feed the beast, feed the 5-3 beast, if you will. But yeah, it's fun to watch them grow now into leaders, and they're doing a great job of teaching the youngsters and showing UCF softball in the way we roll in the locker room, in the weight room, in the community, in the classroom, and on the field.
You always play a lot of players. People now that have seen your style, you play a lot of players. You play, you've called your bench an All-American bench as a weapon to win games. Speak to the rest of the infield, because there's a lot of new faces in the infield, young talent there with a lot of upside. One name that comes to mind is Ashley Griffin, who I got to see in the fall, has incredible power. Again, highly decorated recruit, highly rated recruit, might be the highest rated recruiting catcher that's ever come to UCF. Not that matters anything once you get on the field, but still, it shows the talent and has great character. I saw during the fall in the social media, she kind of gave an award to Alea White because she wears 27 and what that number meant to her, which meant a lot to Alea. So this kid seems to have a lot of the pedigree and the intangibles. Speak to her and then the rest of the infield and new faces you got.
Yeah, well, Ashley, when I first watched her, she was a third baseman, first baseman. She played shortstop for her high school team. And I told her coach, I was like, hey, like, we're going to need her to catch. And so he said, well, we'll rotate her in a little bit. And then she became a darn good catcher for them. And so it's been nice to see Ashley. She's definitely a different athlete on our team. our athletes, some of them are driving their little SUVs and cute cars. And here comes, Ashley's talking about she would drive a truck and listen to country music, and has, a Jeep, and, all that stuff. And so we did like a get to know you on the team, and hers were all very different answers. And you would understand that, like, on the field, it's the same way. Like you said, she is just she reminds me a lot of Shannon. We call them the twins, actually. And I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I told them, like, I'm ready to like create some posters of like the Bash sisters or something like that. So, you guys get rolling. Come on. No, but she's a fun athlete to watch, to coach. She's so coachable. And what she did this fall to earn her number 27, blew me away. She made this really cool poster, like digital poster, framed it for Lily, and then she wrote a poem or a letter to Lily and read it in front of the entire team. And I know that may not seem that big of a deal, but for a freshman to get up in front of this team that, won 41 games, was nationally recognized, had one of the most watched games on a Monday night, and all of that. And to get up there and read that to one of the most talented athletes in our program, I'm like, I'm in. Yes, ma'am. I'm all about Ashley Griffin. Holy cow. And so Lily was all about it. Like, yep, she deserves that jersey and she's going to wear it. And because, there's times where you think people want to retire those jersey numbers. But my whole idea is I'll get into trouble if I do that, because I want to have athletes that we can retire all of their jerseys. So we're going to have to definitely recognize them in a different way. And wow, she hit it out of the park with that one. But like you said, she's going to be power. She showed a lot of power this fall, and just is really doing a good job of making us feel comfortable behind the plate as well. But what is nice is, her and Jada are going to be able to, and Carson are going to be able to share that time back there. So we're going to be able to stay healthy, and they're all dynamic and play a secondary position. Other new faces, Lala. But Lala is, we get her from the California Cruisers, and she is pretty special kid as well. Came in and was, doing the most pull-ups, ran the fastest. We did a hitting challenge. She hit the hardest, bunted the best. It was like, okay, what can't she do? Right. And then fall came around, and then she started to show, I'm a human being, I'm a freshman, and here are some things. And then she's taken that along, and really done a good job of, taking over the shortstop role. We have her and Kennedy Cersei that, we'll probably see up the middle there. And Kennedy's still coming back from her injury from last year and doing a great job. And so it's just, I think for Kennedy, it's just time, getting back into her feet, because she was an explosive player. And to be an explosive player with the injury that she had, it's just going to take time, and like seeing that she can do it. Every day I see her do something, and I see her kind of look up like, oh yeah, I can do that. So you're going to see Kennedy in the infield. You're going to see Lala in the infield. Emerson Lee is a redshirt freshman, who can really play anywhere in the infield, even catch behind the plate for us. So you're going to see her. And then, I think that I covered them all. Yeah, but
A
a
lot
lot
of
of
them.
newcomers. For sure. It is.
It's a lot of them, and it's worth pointing out, and I keep teasing this, and I'm not saying it for lip service. I mean, X-Rating Softball is a very credible national recruiting site. It does the rankings. This freshman class that we're talking about right now was part of a top 45 class you brought in. That's not counting. We're not even talking about next year's freshman class that's coming in that's ranked 25th class, which is the highest since probably the 2012 freshman class that had Mackenzie Otis, who you've gotten to know, Kaylee Novak, Ferris Sullivan, Maddie Schroeder, which has turned to be probably the greatest senior class ever, at least one of them. I don't want to get any senior classes mad at me, but we look at their credentials, what they did, it's pretty good. But I want you to speak to that, the recruiting aspect of it. because obviously there was news on college athletic UCF's going to the Big 12 down the road. How much of an impact has that had on your recruiting? But just overall, the vision that you have for the program has clearly, players are buying in from a recruiting standpoint.
Yeah. Well, I want to say first, it's got to be a good matchup for us. And we have to be different here at UCF. That we've called ourselves the disruptors. We've called ourselves so many things, but this year we've really talked about it's got to be hard to be a part of our program. It's not an easy thing, and it's not just hard physically, but I'm talking it mentally, emotionally, like the time and the effort put into it. And so just because they can play ball doesn't mean that they're the right fit for us. But going into the Big 12, we have definitely seen we're getting first looks now instead of, like you talk about, Ashley Griffin was a later get for us. We're getting that type of caliber athlete looking at us earlier. And so that's really nice. It also brings some other things along, like, okay, we got to start looking at certain types of athletes, but I'm not going to close my eyes to a Justine Molina either, because, it's just not just size, just because we're going to the Big 12. You got to know how to play softball. And you have to have that instinct. And you got to see Justine Molina's a vacuum at second, but you've seen her base running skills as well, and some of the things that she can do. And so I think that is really also why we have the success that we have, because we take all of those differences and put it together. And I guess, someone really smart out there once said, like, we make this really incredible spaghetti sauce. And so I will say that we're going to get, some of those picks earlier, but we're still going to look for the people that really fit into our program, that are going to challenge our program and make it better, but that are going to respect our way. And because our culture, our locker room, like those things are why we do what we do. But yeah, I mean, the 21 class was worked on for some time, and the 22 class, we have a lot of Florida kids. So I think that really speaks to the talent out here in Florida, because that 22 class was recruited from past camps and then online. Right. And so just to see that kind of come to play and be ranked that high, like, I'm proud of that, because we really talk about getting the best talent in our backyard. And there it is right there. We're putting our money where our mouth is. And so it's fun to see that really paying off, and to acknowledge how good softball is here in the state of Florida.
Yeah, there's a reason why there's a lot of successful softball programs in the state of Florida at every level. I think there's enough talent, kind of like California, which you also have a pipeline to as well. So I think that speaks very highly. Now, we've talked about the infield, obviously, and let's also acknowledge Jasmine Esparza was a great leader too that graduated. Shannon's taken over at first for her. I'm sure she learned a lot from Jazz. So let's mention her. And I may bring that up because when you go to the outfield, Kira Clarkowski was the definition of a leader. I'm not sure who's going to miss her more, you or Denali Shawpacker, who's known her since travel ball in high school, but she returns as the leading outfielder. Just talk about Denali and what she brings here in her final year.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to talk about Jazz real quick too, because you had mentioned her, and when I got here, we put her in the 9 hole. She was that, like, turn the lineup over, and then all of a sudden last year she becomes one of our better power hitters. And so you don't realize what you have until it's gone. And we were very spoiled with a shortstop playing first base in Jazz. And you talk about vacuum, she locked it down over there. So it's been good that Shannon was able to play with her for 2 years and understand what's expected and how we want to keep moving on. But yes, Denali, she is finishing up her master's. So something special about Denali is she's a certified licensed athletic trainer already, right? And she did that through her career. And so for her, for most of her career, she was always on off-site doing her hours and would miss practices, and she would make all that time up on her own. And so just to see how dedicated she is to her own success in the classroom and all of that. But I mean, the athlete that she's become and the leader that she's become, and she's been able to really give more to her team now, being more present. Um, Her schedule for her master's program is, uh, I guess, less demanding as the athletic training schedule was. And so um, I do know that her and Kira played for a long time in high school and travel ball and now here. But that's our job in being leaders is, leaving behind their legacy. And Kira did that with Denali. Denali has really taken over. And I, I've said this before, the outfield here is probably the best outfield I've ever been a part of coaching. And Kira was a huge reason of that. But don't count this year's outfield out just because Kira graduated. She definitely left her legacy, and Kira comes and works camps and is present and known, and the girls know about her and they get to pick her brain. And so it's nice to see them carrying it on. And that's when, you do it right is, they follow and they try to be better. And Denali's doing a good job of that. She was just named a captain last week. And I'll tell you, I put her through the ringer for that. This is her 5th year here. And you would think with her success as a softball player, that'd be a no brainer. But again, I always told her, if you can't be present all the time because of your schedule, it's hard to be a captain. And she bought into that and stood behind it and stood by it. And now look at her go. So, our fans Night Nation would be super proud of what she's done on the field and what she's doing in the classroom and what she's going to do next year and beyond.
Part of a deep outfield group, an outfield, because you like to have versatility. You like to have outfielders that could play multiple positions. You can move them around if you need to. You have sometimes you like to play them in certainly defensive situations, etc. But you've got a lot of talent depth here in the outfield. So how do you sort out through the outfield here? Because you've got a lot of options. Obviously, Shot Pocker's one of them, but you also brought in a talented transfer from Florida Gulf Coast, and you've got a lot of returners in the outfield.
Yes, yes. And they do a really good job of making my job difficult because it's hard. They keep pushing and they try to like separate themselves to win the spot, and then the next person rises to the occasion. And so the competition is awesome out there in the outfield. Yeah, we've got Nene Rowe that'll probably take over center field duties. We love Shot Pocker in right field. She does a great job. I think it's one of the toughest outfield positions, especially with some of our pitchers. And so we like how she locks that down. And Nene is it. I know people say this, but I think she's really studied the game to be Kira 2.0, if you will. And I love just the dialogue and conversations that she's had with Kira when they both are teaching an outfield session at camp. And so it'll be exciting to see how she takes over that area. And then you've got Maddie Bejarano and Elise Volpe that those are two that are really giving me a run for my money. Katie Bird's like, okay, who am I going to start in that third outfield position? And then of course, Kennedy Cersei has played outfield last year too. And then we have a freshman in Avery Wong, and we have another kid, Demaria Cannon, that, she hasn't seen a lot of time out there, but she's really sharpened up her tools to have just the throws on target, on plane, like just really staying within routine defense and adding a little bit more to her offensive approach as well. So yeah, again, a great group led by Denali. They're all very fast. We're going to have a fast lineup, and a lot of it has to do with that outfield that we just talked about. But we kind of took slapping away from them in the fall. We said, you got to learn how to hit. And it was a struggle. We maybe didn't score as many runs as we wanted to in the fall because of it. But now that we've added the slapping back, they have all three. And so we have a few like true triple threats on the team now. So it's going to be fun to see all that put to play, work through it. And I don't know. I think being in this place now as a coach, I'm in that part of my career where I'm excited to like maybe fall down a bit and then continue to learn how we're going to be even better for it. It's now being there and getting the program in the position that we're in. How can we continue to get better, enjoy the people around us? I mean, I think being back in the bullpen, being able to, like I said, manage, I'm really enjoying this team, and I have time to like step back and have a conversation with them. And so I'm really excited to continue to watch them grow. I would be silly if I didn't think that this schedule was going to put us through some growing pains, and those are the growing pains we want to have. So we're the best version of Team 21 at the end of the year. And we're Team 21, even though it's 2022.
You mentioned the schedule. It's a top 25 type schedule because you're literally playing most of them. So you've got number 4 Florida State, which you're going to be playing part of that marquee tournament at ESPN, week 2 of the season. That's the premier tournament in the sport alongside Mary Nutter. You got Florida number 6, which comes to the Plex at the end of February. You've got Georgia, who you will open with. They rank 12th. This is the NFCA poll. Wow, that's like a Heather Tarr coaching reunion there because Jeff D'Amico is the assistant there at Georgia now. And Tony Baldwin, who you coached with on the U.S. national team that won the gold on the under-19 team. So you got Virginia Tech coming here. They're ranked 13th. Michigan, who you're going to play in Clearwater, they're 16th. JMU comes here. James Madison, a big story in softball. They're ranked 17th in the country. Tennessee, you'll play in Clearwater. They're ranked 22nd. Liberty comes here for a midweek. Dot Richardson and company, they're ranked 24th. And then Wichita State, who we know very well, they're ranked 25th. I'm not even mentioning teams like Minnesota is receiving votes in the top 25. Ole Miss is receiving votes. Fresno State's receiving votes. They're all on your schedule there. That's a wow.
Yeah, you just have to giggle a little bit. I mean, it's what they want. Like that's why when we talk about that recruiting piece, the people and the athletes that choose to come here and know we're going to play the toughest schedule that we can. And it's not going to, we're preparing for that. As a coach, if you've watched us, I'm pretty darn competitive and I'm pretty animated in the games. And I've been like coaching myself up, and my son has learned how to meditate in school. And so he's been even helping me a little bit of, I don't know if it's either Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or school that's taught him this, but we've been taking a moment of silence and meditating because I know I'm going to have to understand what it's like to, not be on top in every pitch and every game. And that's where I want to be, and that's where this team wants to be and this program wants to be. So, you keep bringing it up, and I think back in the day, I probably would have got, my palms would have been sweaty and all of that. And every number that you listed off, I'm like, bring it, let's go. This is awesome for these women that we get to be a part of this journey with them and learn. And so it's been interesting. It's definitely a turn for me in my career because it was always, if we're not win-win-win, then there's something wrong. And so I have to thank everyone here at UCF and the teams before this team that have gotten us to this point, because having this confidence and being in this place is an amazing feeling. And it really attributes back to, the 2019 team, the 2020 team, and even last year's team. And that's what's so cool is when you get to the World Series, you hear the teams talk about tradition, and UCF has tradition. I mean, we've had great tradition prior to even when the time that I've been here. And that's why I came here. And so just to, get it out there, nationally recognized, and have people talk about it as much as they are. I mean, that speaks to everyone that's worn a UCF jersey, and they should be proud. And our girls' goal is to get all those alumni up there in that stands at the, end of May, beginning of June, being crazy and loud for their alma mater. So they have a huge vision board of it. It's, it's in their everyday language, and it's not coming from the coaches. It's coming from our women.
Well, and you'll have a kind of a World Series feel, that tournament at ESPN. I mean, that Clearwater, the Elite Invitational, nationally televised. And that's a tournament, that's a lot of pride, because they don't just invite teams for the sake of inviting. They invite the elite teams, and it's a big moment for the program. And that's where part of that tough competition you're going to be playing, too. But it's going to be exciting. A lot of Knight fans will make that trip to Clearwater, and it's going to be packed. I've covered a couple of those tournaments. It is going to be intense, and I think a great experience for your players, and get them ready for conference play. Because I know that's part of your philosophy too. Is, hey, it's going to be tough in conference games every day, and I'm sure in the future when you go to the Big 12, which is a top 2 league, that's going to be tough. Just like the Americans tough, they're a top 6 league.
Oh yeah, no, it's, we started it out in the fall. Like you said, all these crowds and everything else. We started our fall out at Florida, and there was standing room only at our fall game. And a bunch of us had been there, done that just a couple months ago. And I went out and talked to our freshman, because she was kind of playing out of, like just not doing her normal deal. And she said, "Coach Bear, do you see all those people in the stands?" And her eyes were just these, big, wide eyes. And I said, oh yeah, I forgot. She's a freshman. She's never done this before. And we talked later, and she said, yeah, I'd never been in that environment, but I'm so glad I am. And I can't wait to be back. So we kind of fell into that. I didn't even know that we were going to have that scenario, but it ended up working out for us. Cause like you said, we're going to play in some of those environments. And, again, how awesome, because I may be biased, and I know you feel the same. This sport is the best sport, and the fan base and just the atmosphere and the environment. And so how awesome that they get to play, our team gets to play in that environment. It's well deserved on their part, and I'm excited to keep going and keep pushing. And that's their goal is, they're going to leave it a little bit better than they found it every year.
Couple other things. You're got a long West Coast trip. Among the thing that I'm fascinated with, the game I've circled, is you're playing at Pacific, back at your own park there, back where you play. Your number's retired there. I believe you told me that you've never actually been a opposing head coach there. You've been there before as an assistant, right? But not a head coach. Of course, your coach, Brian Cozy, is in his 30th season this year. They're celebrating it. I know you've been a part of that. So that game is going to be pretty special. It's not I'm sure for all the fans to see you. I don't even know, when was the last time you were there in that stadium?
In a game, the last time I was there was 2012.
Wow.
With Washington. So it's been 10 years. And then, I didn't know it was going to be his 30th year this year. I just thought, we have some NorCal kids. I'd like to get them up there so that they can play in front of their family. And it's good to go back home and, see all my friends and family. And maybe the kid, our team can see where their old coach came from. And, that I do know a little bit about what I'm talking about sometimes. And so I thought it would be exciting. And then when he said it was the 30th year of him coaching there, first I thought, wow, coach, you're old. But
Very appreciates
secondly, that. yeah, no, nothing but love for Coach Colsey. But secondly, like, okay, well, this was perfect timing. Awesome. So yeah, we have quite a few people from the Central Valley over there, and just want to get them in front of their families. And it's also a cool trip for even our Florida kids, to go to California. It's funny because they see the beach and they're like, oh my gosh, the beach. And I'm thinking, you guys live on the beach. What? But it's different,
Yeah.
it's not something that they're used to. And some of their greatest moments that they talk about were when we rented a house on the beach and got to stay together as a team. And so we're trying to recreate that in a different way every year, and play teams that we don't normally get to play, even though we have Fresno State coming out this way. But environment, a great stadium, and down in Long Beach, that was kind of like the beginning of the turnaround for our program, getting back into competing against some All-American pitchers and whatnot. And so I know they're excited to get back there.
Yeah, that'll be exciting. That's like a Brady Belichick kind of reunion there, like going on there in Pacific. That'll be kind of wild. And it'll be cool to see the players see your number Where is it, in the outfield? Where is it, like, retired?
Yeah, I think, this means that I'm old because I think it's moved a couple times, but I think it's in left field now in the outfield. But yeah, that's just an incredible thing. And like you said, with Alea White, I think about her quite a bit, and um, I think she's blown some of my records out of the
Yeah,
water.
she was
So,
trash
you
talking
know,
about passing you in the winds last year. So now, that now you get to see it up close.
yeah. No, it's exciting because I was like, awesome, go for it, because I get to reap the benefits on both sides. So, no, but yeah, I see her being one of those people that she's going to get acknowledged in that way, and it takes time. You gotta wait a little bit for it to be acknowledged, but she will definitely be acknowledged because she's still giving to this program even after her playing career. So,
Two last things. Obviously, the American, Wichita State. Obviously, USF's good. They got Corrick back, and I've talked to Coach Erickson and Coach Bredbenner, and they've talked about the fact that you all have this bond to support each other. You're competitive on the field, but that you support each other off the field. Like last year, you would try to keep track of how you're doing in the regionals, represent each other, represent the league. Coach Erickson even said, he's like, he joked, I hate to break it to everybody, but I really like Coach Bear there. We get along great. I like playing her because he really admires what you've done as a two-way player. He was a two-way player at USF as a baseball player. So I feel like you two have a lot of similar philosophies, and he thinks that you would be great if you ever decided to go international coaching and things like that. Just talk about that camaraderie, because those are people that you've gotten to know, and Coach Erickson, that USF series as you've now been a part of, is always exciting.
oh yeah, definitely. I would say both of those teams, our series, are always that we've always got. It's to the last pitch, and it's keeping people on the edge of their seats. But I think that's what's cool about our game is we can want to go kick their tails on the field, but afterwards, we have that group chat that we had when we were all in postseason last year, and we're telling each other like, go give them hell, and all of that bit. And so it's exciting to have that support, and it's really comforting too to have that support and know that we're growing our conference. And um, we believe that people should respect our conference, as we talk about the Power Six and whatnot. And shoot, I believe in our game in softball, and you could cut this out if you want to, but we don't even need the number six. Like, we're up there in softball. And so it's just making sure that people are aware of it and continuing to keep pushing. And I mean, the last two teams that played at the end of the year last year had to get past Wichita State and us. So that, and that shows a lot of where, the teams in the American Conference, what we do, the competitiveness of our schedules outside of conference and even inside conference. So, and it's fun to have competitive people that you compete against, and then you can talk about it afterwards. That's the best. And some of those people are, my closest friends in this game and in life. So, but much respect to Coach Ken Erickson too. I mean, he kind of took me under his wing in the international game, and just would share stories and, help me out when it came to just staying out of the way of Montana Fouts and Megan Framo and letting them do their job. But um, I mean, it's awesome to see the support and where we're at with that. Christy was one of the first people that texted me when we got the announcement of going into the Big 12 and how excited she was for our program. And we need that. We get the birthday messages, and it is so much more than just the game of softball. And so I think we teach that to our team, and being able to practice it ourselves is, it's special.
Yeah, and Coach Vesely in Houston will also be going to the Big 12 as well. You've known her for a while, so it's a strong league that'll people make a big deal of going to the Big 12. But I agree with you. I mean, it's one strong league going to another strong league, so it's not going to be as big of an adjustment as people might think, because you're already in a strong league. The American was, I believe, top 4 RPI last year, and it'll be sets up to be very good again this year. So. Last question for you. What's going to be the keys for your team as you get going? Because I know you like to learn about your team once they get into live action. It's a process. It's a marathon, you've said before. What are some of the keys for your team to accomplish your internal goals, and what are some of the questions you're curious to find out about your team when it gets going?
Yeah, well, we always say the superstar at the beginning of year is never the superstar at the end of the year. And I mean, we just talked about with our team a couple days ago is I said, okay, who's the superstar on our team? And they all kind of looked around and they wanted to go point to somebody. And then they're like, wait a minute. And I said, that's what's cool about our team, guys, is tell me what day. Let's pick a day. It's going to be somebody different every day. So that question that I have is, how what's going to help the freshmen most to get through things and move on, and because we can always look back and say, oh, we used to have this, or oh, we have this, and we have some very talented athletes that are playing on different teams right now, and some of that is their choice and some of that is just with COVID and money and all of that, it's tough. And you know, not looking at that and really focusing on our team of 22 athletes. I think the biggest thing for them is to understand that I think one of my biggest strengths is playing matchups, like you talked about earlier. And it's not necessarily like, oh, I want to try to see how many people I can get into the game. It's really playing chess instead of checkers. And so we want to have the best matchups offensively, but then have the strongest defense that we can have, especially at the end of the game. And so it's going to, who is that and what is that at the right time? We have a freshman that I haven't even mentioned, Savannah Adams, that brings a big bat. And, we've talked through things with her. I mean, she has a lot of success in travel ball playing with the Corona Angels. She's got a national championship. She was, one of the big hitters in those games. And so she's riding the freshman wave right now and learning some tough lessons. And we just talked before and she left here with a smile and she's like, I get it, it doesn't feel good, but I get it. And I mean, I'm excited to see her grow and be one of those people that gets called on when the game is on the line and is a big hit is required. And so I think that's the big thing is like figuring out what's the matchup with this, because last year you always knew I was going to put a different shortstop in at the end of the year. And, I was going to put this runner in there and I was going to have that pinch hitter somewhere. And I don't really have a drawn out plan yet. It hasn't come. So excited to grow with the team and learn that and even hear from the new staff, what gets involved with that. So I think I answered your question there, Elo, a little bit more, hopefully.
Yes, you did. Did very good. That's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting to watch your team. It gets going February 10th. You'll be hosting a marquee tournament, Georgia opening night, February 10th. You got Minnesota in that tournament. You got Longwood, Dr. Megan Brown, obviously former MPF champion, leading her team coming down here. They're very good as well with a strong program. And Fresno State will be coming here. All the games, ESPN Plus. Make sure you have that if you're listening. You watch UCF home games, neutral games at ESPN tournament. We talked about in Clearwater, road games as well. And of course, all the information, check out UCFKnights.com. Coach, always a pleasure to talk to you this time of year. Excited to get going and look forward to seeing you on the field. But thanks for taking the time from a busy schedule, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you, Elo. Thanks for what you do for our sport too.